And the first item is Senator Gabrielle McFadden.
Welcome to the House again, Minister. There are men and women in the Midlands today going about their normal daily business who wouldn't be with us if it weren't for the fantastic service being provided since 2012 by the personnel of the Irish Air Corps, the National Ambulance Service and the AC-112 Air Ambulance helicopter, which is based in Athlone. Likewise, there are men and women going about their daily business today unaware of the fact that they may one day also need these services. The service is called upon on a nearly daily basis. 159 responses to serious car crashes, 146 other medical emergencies and 15 urgent transports of children to hospital last year alone. So you will understand, Minister, that there is a degree of concern in my hometown of Athlone and in the surrounding counties that there will be any threat to the future of this service. I understand the current situation and the ongoing HR challenges being faced by the Air Corps, in particular with regard to the recruitment and retention of pilots. I also understand that, for training reasons, the Air Corps will not be in a position to accept emergency aeromedical requests by the National Ambulance Service for 4 days per month between now and the end of February 2020. Furthermore, I accept that during those 16 days when the Air Corps are not accepting taskings, the Irish Coast Guard will provide reserve cover to the National Ambulance Service, and that further backup from the Cork-based ICRR helicopter has been explored. Minister, I am not happy that we have arrived at this situation, and I know I have been a constant thorn in your side regarding funding for the Defence Forces. But I do accept that the current training is necessary and that the cover for arrangements put in place are aimed at providing the best service possible using all available resources. However, the reality is that there is a fear in the Midlands, and particularly in Athlone, that this is the thin end of the wedge and that this might signal the winding down of this very valuable service. This fear has primarily been stoked by certain public representatives for their own political purposes, but it is still nonetheless causing concern among the general public, and I would like you, Minister, to allay those concerns. So I am asking you now, Minister, to address one question and one question only: the future of this service. I do not need to hear from you an explanation of the current situation, nor do I need to hear the provisions put in place to address it. I have heard and I understand the assurances from the Department in this regard. What I am asking you is to make an unequivocal statement here in the House today that the service provided by the Air Ambulance helicopter in Athlone will not be wound down or reduced in any way, and that the service will be continued to be based in Costume Barracks in Athlone. Gura Mahagat.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Senator, for raising this important matter to the House this afternoon. The Emergency Aeromedical Support Service, the EAS service, which is based in Costume Barracks at Athlone, is an important service provided by the Irish Air Corps. Notwithstanding the well-documented ongoing HR challenges within the Air Corps, in particular the recruitment and retention of pilots, the EAS service has been delivered without interruption since 2012, which was put in place by the Fine Gael-led government back then. It is a service that I have prioritised and a service that I will continue to prioritise into the future. I have received military advice that the Air Corps will not be in a position to accept the EAS taskings by the National Ambulance Service for 4 days per month for a period of 4 months, November, December, January and February. This is regrettable, however, but necessary from a safety and governance perspective. During this time, there will be a training surge to produce a new cohort of aircraft commanders for the EAS service. This will ensure the long-term viability of the EAS service provided by the Irish Air Corps. The safety of personnel is paramount to me. The HSE staff and patients is shared, being the #1 priority of safety, and our whole focus is returning the EAS service to full capacity from the end of February 2020. During the 16 days when the Air Corps are not accepting taskings, the Irish Coast Guard will provide a reserve cover to the National Ambulance Service. This is in line with the 2015 government decision establishing the Emergency Aeromedical Service. In addition, the Irish Community Rapid Response Red Helicopter, the ICRR Charity Helicopter Emergency Medical Service, have agreed to provide additional cover using a second helicopter which will be based in Roscommon on those days when the Air Corps is not in a position to accept taskings for the EAS. The ICRR will also continue to be available in the south of the country. I can assure the Senator that my whole focus is returning the EAS to full service and capacity. In that regard, a number of measures are being pursued, including the reintroduction of the Service Commitment Scheme for pilots, the recommissioning of former Air Corps pilots, the training of junior pilots during the period of time the EAS service provided by the Air Corps has completed over 2,600 missions since it commenced operations in 2012. I would like to pay tribute to the professional and effective service provided by the Air Corps personnel. I also want to acknowledge the support of the Irish Coast Guard, the ICRR, during this current and challenging period. The shared priority is to provide the best available service using all available resources during the 4-day periods in each month when the Air Corps are not available for EAS taskings. This interruption is regrettable but necessary from a safety and governance perspective, as I have already stated. I want to assure the House that the EAS service operated by the Air Corps will continue, is not being wound down, and I can absolutely reassure members of this House that this service will continue to be provided by the Irish Air Corps.
Thank you, Minister. Supplementary, Senator.
Just briefly, I thank the Minister, and I too would like to pay tribute to the professional and effective service provided by the Air Corps. It's a bit disappointing that we have to rely on community rapid response, like on a charity helicopter in this day and age, but we do, and that's where we're at. So I thank the Minister for his assurances that the service will continue to be provided. However, he didn't mention Athlone, and I lobbied very hard back in 2012 when the then Minister Simon Coveney was in position that the air ambulance pilot scheme that was being piloted in Athlone would remain in Athlone. And I have been very happy and very proud of the service provided there since then. But there was no mention of it actually being maintained in Costume Barracks. And I wonder, could I ask the Minister, could he assure me that that service will be maintained out of Costume Barracks in Athlone? Thank
you, Minister.
I don't think there was ever any question that this is going to be relocated to any other location across the country, Senator. This will be maintained in Athlone. Never any question of removing it out of Athlone. The reason why the ICCR helicopter has been based at Roscommon is because it's a community response, community-based helicopter. It's a military barracks that we're dealing with in Costume Barracks. I hope you understand as to why we cannot have a community helicopter operating out of that. So I just want to confirm that there is absolutely no question, and if anyone has put that into your mind or into your head, absolutely I would appreciate if you go back to them and say this will continuously be based out of Athlone, except for the 4 days in November.